was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I was driving around Manitowoc with my old man in his Dodge Ram Charger, and he was blaring Tom Waits' Heart Attack and Vine out the window, and I heard this line, "Don't you know there ain't no devil, there's just God when he's drunk." And I knew right then, some light went off in my head. I wanted to be a writer. Now, being a creative person is not a gift. It's not de facto good. It's not bad. It's just neutral. It's just a thing. It's something you have to contend with about who you are. Once I knew I was creative, I had to figure out how I was going to go about it. And it immediately occurred to me that I had to be a poet. Now, I didn't really consider at the time that it was a dead or dying art form or that you can't really make any money in it, but I put my heart and soul into it and I worked my ass off. I spent a lot of time in the library, a lot of time reading and writing, and I'd write little pretend books of poetry that were, published by me where I'd draw something on the cover, and I got really, really into it. And of course, the further I got into it, the more I got interested in all kinds of different poets that you wouldn't hear about other places. And I started to cultivate a taste for things on the fringes of society, things that weren't as successful, that other people wouldn't know about. And once you start doing that, maybe you start creating in that sort of way as well. And as you get further and further outside, you start to alienate yourself from the community that you're one day hoping to create art for. People that I liked the most weren't that successful either, so I don't know what I was thinking. I would brag at times that some of the people I was into still had to work regular day jobs. There was one of my favorite poets that worked as a janitor in a bank, and I would bring that up. And then later on I wonder, geez, how come I'm not making any money? Maybe I'm emulating people that were also unsuccessful. Now, obviously, if I'm consciously designing myself to become this kind of person who appreciates art that exists on the fringes more than what the mainstreams are doing, and I end up deciding to create things that exist on those same margins, well, obviously, I'm going to have a hard time monetizing that. And then if you add to that the fact that I'm horrible at self-promotion, I don't like walking around and trying to sell a product. I'm not a big fan of crowds. I don't like live shows that much, which is not a great thing for a musician, obviously. I guess live shows are just embarrassing. It's embarrassing to sit up there and have people think that you must think this is great material. Why else would you be presenting it? You don't know if it's great. You have no clue. You just don't know what else to do with yourself. You made this. The next stage is to present it. So off you go trying to present the material and hope to God there's something worthwhile there. And the more you get interested in stuff on the fringes, the more embarrassing the whole process is going to be. I mean, I'm even embarrassed of this show. Right? Why the hell am I doing this? Sitting here in my garage, staring at this camera, talking into the abyss. I have things to do. I have a job. I have kids. I have a life. This doesn't make any sense. So now I've created all these things, and I have hard drives filled with songs I've recorded. I have stacks and stacks of things I've written. And what am I doing with them? They're just sitting there. So this is money I've wasted. I've wasted money on all the instruments and the recording equipment. I've wasted time doing all of these things with nothing to show for it at the end of it all, right? If my interest or my hobby had have been something more domestic, like involved with making my house nicer or involved with money or something that fits in better, well, that would be useful, right? So you can start to see how being a creative person is not necessarily the most useful thing. Now, if you're successful, of course, there's a small sliver of people that are monstrously successful, then I guess it solves a lot of problems. But maybe even monstrous success is not such a great thing. So what did I do with all my other time, right? I had to go get a job. And clearly I wasn't going to make a living just with my art, although I did that briefly. I ended up working as in a mill, a sawmill, a pulp mill, a planer mill, a shake mill. I planted trees. I worked operating circuits. I did all kinds of various jobs to try and make money and put food on the table. And over the years of doing this, I started to cultivate this theory that if I was writing with those perspectives in place and those experiences, that would be unique, because all the songwriters I listen to and that anyone listens to have one thing in common. They all work as songwriters. They don't have the experiences that I have, so they couldn't write the songs that I write. There would be something at least a little bit unique. But of course, this creates a trap, because if I ever were to be successful, well, there goes that whole theory, and all of a sudden it doesn't mean anything anymore. So it's almost like I'm forcing myself to have to do this. And yet, at the same time, I knew that some artists would give the opposite of what the famous parental advice is that find something to do to make money and do your craft on the side. But however, artists would often say you shouldn't have a safety net, because if you have a safety net, you're less likely to go all in and really try as hard as you could. And that the people who are successful often don't have a safety net, and that gives them that little edge in a hyper-competitive field to succeed in a way no one else can. And I'm sure lots of them still fail too. The margins of success are probably still very small. And yet those people who like to do it on the side continue to exist. And here we are now with the internet available to us, and everybody gets to jump on the biggest platform in the world right next to the most monstrous stars that exist and put their stuff on display there as well. And as always, the public will decide, and over time, things will sort themselves out. So maybe it's for the best that I decided to take this path. Maybe not. Who knows? It's not worth worrying about. The thing is, I've managed to find a way to support my family and to get a good life going, and I still have time to do my art on the side, and I'm content with that. But I'm 47. There was a lot of wasted time. It wasn't easy to contend with that creative impulse. Now, I'm sure a couple of people might wonder, well, how weird could the art you truly want to create be?
You're at working on the subway. You're at soft tag in the cam. You're at Cordelia fine out in public. Deep inside, you're still a man.
Someone is sneaking around in you.
Who's that?
Someone is watching all that you do.
Who's that?
Someone's controlling.
Something like that. Maybe not that weird. And maybe some of it could have been more mainstream. And I could have made a mediocre living if I really worked my ass off at all the other aspects that I despise so much. But I'm not so sure I would have been any more content, because I'm still making things I like. And I have a decent living where I don't feel like I'm sacrificing the passionate part of my body. I get to work in a field that I'm okay at, but I don't care so much about. So if they ask me to do something that I don't like, or I don't think that's the best way to go about it, it doesn't really bother me. I still get to go home and do the thing I care about the way that I want. So maybe it was for the best. Who the hell's to say? And was it so weird?
You've got a disease, don't you tell me it's easy. You've got a disease, don't you tell me you're fine. Went to the trees is a pleasing release. Makes me think that I'm lucky, just lucky to be. The skull is no more than 3 thick pennies thick, and here I had a quick wall just to keep you from it. The muck and the lust and the fear and the blood keeps me filled till I spill, and it's still not enough. Know what I mean, man? Yeah, that's right. Look at this, how it is. Right here. Well, I peeled the earth and I ate it like fruit. The core hot and rotten, trapped deep in the dirt. A collection of stones hiding under the porch. All that we harvested, now it's all yours. Garbage collectors are hiding like bugs inside the kitchen and under the rug. Thought that I heard you slander my name. Go talk shit about me like we're not the same. Come on, man, you know how it is. Ain't so easy now, is it? Not yet, man. Right now. Well, I've washed my hands clean and the proof is all gone, but there's nothing to see here, no, nothing to come. Now no one's looking, but you can't come out. There's a search party forming, don't feel any doubt. Ink wells all dried up, the motives unclear, the pistols are loaded in case they come here. I ain't taking no chances, I ain't taking no guff. Taking no shit, man, show me the stuff. Lay right there on the table. Yeah, lay it all out. Oh, that's what I'm talking about.